is about air quality. I found more and more YouTube videos posted by tourists that visited China for the first time, and most about food, tourist spots, and landscapes, which is definitely the must-go for a tourist to any other destinations. But behind the beautiful pictures and skylines, I suddenly realized that the blue sky was not the case compared to like 10 years ago. My personal experience 10 years ago, now 2015, I was returning from Singapore to Shanghai with my colleague after a business trip. We took the morning flight, very early morning, because we had to be present at the company's meeting that afternoon, which is really important. So our plan was to arrive in Shanghai in the early afternoon, and that will be plenty of time to be at the meeting. However, when the flight was over Hong Kong, the pilot said we had to return to Singapore because the severe air pollution at that period of time over Shanghai, and both Hong Kong and Macau airports were unable to handle additional flights to stop over. So we have no choice but to return to where we took off and wait for signals from Shanghai for landing. So we returned to Singapore by the noon, wandered at the airport for a few hours, and got on board again. By the time we arrived in Shanghai, the visibility was still very limited. That evening we arrived at the meeting venue when the dinner had already begun, and I could still remember that I couldn't see my colleagues about 100 meters away, definitely. I could smell the dust and the smoke in the air. I could never forget that evening. I cleared my apartment the other day and found an old air purifier. It cost me thousands of RMB 10 years ago, and back then it appeared as a must-buy for many families. That reminds me of the smoggy weekends we had to stay indoor and turn the air purifier on 24 hours. But now I no longer need it, and air purifiers only show up in limited scenarios such as nursing homes and hospitals. I think many local Chinese people share the same memory with me, and we are all part of the long path to green environment and clean air. We know that our country has pledged to reach carbon emission peak by 2030 and net zero by 2060. So in just 5 years, the country will enter a new chapter. I check the media reports. Some data show that non-fossil energy now takes up China's nearly 60% of the total energy produced. And carbon reduction is not a big slogan. It's something that is really changing our lives. And we know that far away in Brazil now, the COP30 is ongoing. And although I'm an individual that's thousands of miles away, the other side of the planet, I feel that somehow everyone is part of the agendas like COP30 because we share only one planet.